Welcome to Talkin to Taylor. I'm your host, Taylor Dragovich, an AMP Media Productions producer. You can catch me here every Monday at 11 a.m. I'll be interviewing guests, reviewing movies, talking about pop culture, and so much more every week. Now, time for the show. Hello, welcome back. Happy day after Easter. For Easter, I still have a bunch of younger siblings, and the Easter Bunny came to our house, and he hides our baskets every year. And this year, my sister's roommate and her roommate's boyfriend slept over our house, and then when we woke up, our Easter baskets were hidden. And me, my sister, and my sister's roommate all had to go find them with the clues. But, I mean, that's happened for the past few years where my sister and I have to follow clues. But this time we had to drive to go find our Easter clues and baskets and stuff. So I was the winner, and I found mine first. So that really never happens for me. Usually something happens and I'm like the last one. But big accomplishment. I won a giant Reese egg, so I am probably gonna develop some sort of diabetes in the next week. But I was trying to stay off sugar for the past 2 weeks, so I'm like balancing it out, you know? Anyway, it was a pretty good Easter. We also celebrated my brother's birthday. His birthday's on Friday. So he's turning 11, and I think he had a good time. I made a cheesecake, and it turned out pretty good. Tasted good, even though I made it wrong. But today I was thinking of talking about work. So I work at Cold Stone. I've worked there for 6 years now. I think this month or next month will be 6 years of working at Cold Stone. And people come in all the time and they're like, oh, this must be the best job ever. You just get to mix ice cream all day. But I don't really get why they say that, because it's like, I'm not eating the ice cream. It's not like I'm an ice cream tester. Like, I don't understand why they think that mixing ice cream for people is like the coolest thing ever. And they think that just doing that all day would be super fun and that they would never get tired of it. But you get tired of it really fast. Because there are some rude customers out there, and working in customer service is hard. I had this guy come in like a few months ago, and he was like, oh, you guys, or maybe it was a year ago, I don't know, it all blends together. But he was like, oh, you guys probably never get bad customers, because who could complain about ice cream? And I'm like, do you know people around here? Because they're crazy. So, I don't know if it's just Florida. I don't think so. I think it's everywhere. There are just people that I don't understand how they even get through life being as rude as they are. And that's some of the people I'm going to be talking about today. I will talk about the few good customers. I mean, honestly, most customers are really not that bad. But there's those few crazy ones that just make it all suck. So I'll start with the worst stories, get that out of the way. So I've got a few that, I mean, I'm sure I've had a lot more than a few in the past 6 years, but the ones that I can remember that really stick out to me. So there was one time, I'll start with the less insane one. There was this one time, this was when I first started working. So I started working when I was 14. I was almost 15 because my dad owns the Cold Stone. So it's like, it's legal if it's like your own kid. Anyway, usually people don't start there till they're 16. And I'm really shy and stuff. So I was probably really nervous to get a really bad customer at this time. Now it's kind of like a normal thing. But this guy comes in and he's like, oh, I'm here to get my free ice cream. And I was like, we don't give out free ice cream. I don't know what you're talking about. If he knew my dad, he would know that my dad doesn't just say, oh, go get some ice cream on me to like anyone. So This guy comes in and he tells me that he's there to get his free ice cream. I'm like, okay, I'm going to call my boss. I always call my boss. I don't call my dad because then they're going to be like, oh, you get special treatment and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to call my boss and I'm going to see what you're talking about. Because, there's a slim possibility that, maybe he just like, maybe he's right. Maybe my dad told him he could go get a free ice cream because they made his ice cream wrong or messed it up. And I'm like, hey, Dad, this guy says he's here to get his free ice cream. And he's like, oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. This guy had come in. We have a bunch of different signatures. This guy had come in and he got he was ordering ice cream for his whole family. We have this all the time where people come in and they order like 5 ice creams for each member of their family, and then they get them to go and they go home. And so this guy, I guess my coworker at the time, Rachel, she doesn't work there anymore, but her name was Rachel, and he was like, oh, my wife wants something with Oreos in it. Well, we have a few signatures that have Oreos in it, but the main one is Oreo Overload, obviously. That's also the best signature, by the way, if you're ever going to go to Cold Stone. It's my favorite. So the main one with Oreos is the Oreo Overload. It has Oreo in the name. Makes sense. So she was like, oh, are you talking about the Oreo Overload? And he was like, oh, yeah, that must be it. Watches her make it. That's why I don't understand why people complain, because they literally watch us make the ice cream. It's not like we bring it in the back and do something and come out. Like, you watch us scoop the ice cream. You watch us put the mix-ins in it. And then you're like, that's wrong. But anyway, she makes the Oreo Overload. He buys it, takes it home. He calls later and says, you made my ice cream wrong. And they're like, what are you talking about? Well, apparently his wife wanted a different signature with mint ice cream with Oreos called the Cookie Minster. So even though he said, hey, that's the right one, he still called and said, you made it wrong, because we couldn't read his mind. These people think that I have superpowers and can read their mind, but I cannot. And so then he comes in demanding free ice cream with me. Of course, I get the bad part of the situation. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't give you free ice cream because they didn't do anything wrong. You told them it was correct. You told them that was the right ice cream to make. You could have noticed that it was green ice cream, or no, that it was white ice cream instead of green ice cream, but you didn't say anything, so it's not our fault. And so he was like, I want to talk to your boss. And I was like, okay. So at that time, you couldn't make a call and have the credit card machine go through at the same time, like they were connected. So I was like, I'm going to give him my cell phone to call my dad, because if someone needs to ring up a customer and they need to use card and this guy's talking on the phone, the card's not going to go through. So I give him my phone, mistake, give him my cell phone, and I'm like, yo, this guy wants to talk to you. My dad's like, all right, put him on the phone. So put this guy on the phone, and my dad's like, look, I can't give you free ice cream. It was just a long, stupid situation. And this guy's just yelling at the top of his lungs. There's also a line out the door that I'm trying to deal with, but this guy's just distracting me. And this guy's just yelling at my dad. And my dad finally goes, dude, like, calm down. And the guy screams at me, and he goes, this guy just called me dude. And I'm like, okay, you need to chill out. And he threw my phone on the counter, my iPhone, and could have shattered it if it didn't have a nice protective case on it. And he just threw it on the glass counter and ran out. Luckily, everyone around thought he was crazy also. But that was one of the first times that someone just, like, was crazy. And I was just like, okay. But that's one of the less exciting stories. But one of my faves that I like to tell new people is how I got the police called on me while I was at work. So this lady came in. I was working. It was me and my friend Evan at the time. He doesn't work there anymore also, but he was my good friend, and then I got him a job at Cold Stone. And him and I were working together, just me and him, because it was not busy. This lady comes in, orders an ice cream. She gets like 4 mix-ins. So if you've ever been to Cold Stone, you know that the first mix-in is free, and after that, each extra mix-in is Well, now it's 89 cents extra. Back then it was probably like 80 or something. And so I don't really tell people that extra mix-ins cost extra, first off, because it says it on the menu board, the prices. So it's pretty obvious that everything is extra. And then also, sometimes when I tell people that, they think that I think that they're stupid. And so I'm like, oh yeah, just, this will be extra. They're like, I know that. Like, as if I think that they can't read. But so it depends on the person. Like, I kind of read the person and see, like, do they seem like they've been here? If they know what they're doing, then I don't really say anything because they think I'm insulting their intelligence. So this lady, I just didn't say anything like that it's going to be extra. She seemed like she knew what she was doing. She got, like, all these extra mix-ins, and she was like, she seemed fine with it, like, with the total. Got her ice cream and, like, a drink, like a bottle of Coke or something, goes outside, starts eating it, comes inside, demands a refund, per usual. And she's like, I want a refund, you charged me too much. And I was like, no, actually, I didn't. Like, I was trying to be nice. I thought she was just misunderstanding. And I was like, no, actually, like, I didn't, and you just got all this extra mix-in, so that's why it's extra. And she looked at me like I'm crazy. She's like, no, you charged me too much. How was I supposed to know that? I said, the menu board is right there, actually, if you want to look at it. And she thinks that I'm insulting her intelligence at this point, because she looks at me like, you think that I can't read? Well, obviously you can't, because you're coming requesting a refund. Anyway, she was really annoying. And usually people, they get mad and they just storm out at that point. But this lady, no, she was not ready to let that go. She was like, oh, well, if you're not going to give me a refund, then I'm going to call the police because you're taking my money. All of this is over, like, an extra maybe $1 or $2 of mix-ins that she got in her ice cream. It's not like I didn't give her the mix-ins that she bought. She paid for exactly what she got and then was angry at me, which is why it made absolutely no sense. So I was like, I can call my boss and see, like, if I can do anything. And she was like, okay, well, I'm going to call the police if he doesn't give me a refund, just so you know. And I'm like, okay, cool. And antisocial me does not like this kind of confrontation. And so I call my dad, and I'm like, look, this lady's yelling at me, telling me to give her a refund. Luckily, she was the only person in the store. But I was like, she's yelling at me to give her a refund. I don't know what to do because she's being really mean. And I wanted to give her the refund because I wanted her to leave. But I also don't want to give her the refund because she's being really mean and, like, she doesn't deserve it. And also because I didn't bring anything up wrong. Well, he asked, what's the situation? Like... And I told him exactly what happened. He said, well, she paid for exactly what she got, so I'm not giving her a refund. And so I was like, okay. And I told her exactly what he said. And she said, I don't like that. And I said, you can talk to my boss. She said, I don't want to talk to your boss. I'm going to call the police. So she calls the police right in front of me and goes, I don't remember what she said to the police, but she said something to the effect of, I'm being wrongly charged for my ice cream. They're taking my money is what she told them. She told them that I was taking her money. So I was like crying at this point because I didn't know what to do and she was just being really mean. So I started crying in the back. Then the police actually did show up. It was this nice lady police officer. She goes, what's the problem? And I'm like, this lady is being mean. And I happened to be on the phone with my dad at that point. So I tell my dad, like, oh, the police officer's here. He's like, well, let me talk to her. So then the police officer asks, are you going to give this lady a refund? He says no, and then she just left. So that's what happens when you call the police for, something that's not their fault, is they're just going to leave. So there's no point. Yeah, you could get charged. I don't know if she did. I hope she did. But I was too busy crying in the back to know. So, yeah, it made me cry, and she was just really mean, and it was just so unnecessary. All these stories are really unnecessary. I also had a lady tell me that I overcharged her when I didn't because she also couldn't read the board. And again, this time I didn't tell her, like, extra mix-ins are extra because it's right on the board. It's pretty obvious. And so she was yelling at me and my sister, because my sister and I were working together at this time, was yelling at us, telling me that I overcharged her. I said, it says right there, extra mix-ins are extra. I can't do anything. Called my dad. He said, you can refund her the one mix-in, which would be 95 cents with tax. And she was like, I don't want that. I want you to refund the whole ice cream. At this point, the ice cream's melting everywhere, so you might as well just eat it if you're not going to get a refund. But she's like, oh, it's melting everywhere. I'm like, that's because you're choosing to not eat it and you're choosing to yell at me instead. Then my sister looks at her and goes, the menu board is right there. It's very clear that extra mix-ins are extra, and you just didn't read it. It says it right there on the board. And she started calling my sister all kinds of names. I can't repeat what she said, but mean stuff. All types of names that you can imagine. And my coworker Alex had come in right at that time, and he butts in and is like, ma'am, there's no need to use profanity. And I find it really funny because he was like really new at this time too. So he like didn't know what was going on. And she was like, you're not even part of this. And then I cried from that too, even though I shouldn't have. And she didn't even call me names. She just called my sister names, but I took it personally. And it was just really mean. The worst part about all of those people is that they just get to go on with their day and nothing happens to them for being that rude. So I wish that there was some sort of way that they could get punished. I mean, I guess you could say karma comes back to get them. But yeah, it's just really annoying that they just get to go on with their day and being rude to people like that. But I guess that's how life is. But I'll switch it up and I'll say some of the good customers. Honestly, like I said, most customers are not that bad. They just come in, they order their ice cream, and they leave. There was like 2 weeks ago, I think, I was working with my coworker Hannah and a few other people, but I was working with Hannah in particular. Random numbers calling me. I don't answer random numbers because I'm antisocial. And so she, her and I were like talking about how busy it was. And we were like, oh, we really hope we get good tips tonight. And this guy calls and he's like, hey, I want to order an ice cream. I'm like, I'm sorry, we don't do orders over the phone, but you can order online. And he was like, well, actually, I'm trying to order online, and it's not working. It's telling me that my card, like, is not accepted, and I've tried every card, and I know they're not expired, and it's not working. And I had never had that happen, so I was like, okay, well, I can make an exception for you because it's not your fault. The online system sometimes has glitches and stuff. So I was like, I'll take your order over the phone, even though we had like a pretty big line. And I was like, I'll take your order over the phone. And so I did that. He paid for it over the phone too. He was really nice about it. And so I didn't have a problem. See, I don't have a problem with people when they're nice to me. That's the thing. If you're going to be nice to me, I'm going to be nice back, okay? If he had called and been like, yo, it's not working, I would have been like, well, there's nothing I can do because I don't want to help a mean person, okay? And so he was really nice about it, comes in, picks it up. I was going to have him sign the receipt, and then I have people mostly sign the receipt because I want to see maybe they'll leave a tip because you can leave a tip on the receipt. But then someone lost it, so I was like, it's no big deal. Like, you don't have to sign the receipt or whatever. And then he gave us $20 in the tip jar, which was super nice. And I was like, wow, usually online orders don't even tip because they don't even see us making the ice cream. I've had, like, people do online orders of like the biggest ice creams that you can get, like 3 of them, and then they still don't tip, and it's just like really rude in my opinion, but it's whatever. Like, you can't even give $1, whatever. But it's just how it is. And then the guy in line after him was like, because Hannah and I were like freaking out, we're like, oh my gosh, that guy just tipped $20, did you see that? And we were like, thank you. And then the guy after him, who was ordering like 5 ice creams or so because he was with like a bunch of like teenage boys or something. And he was like, well, now I have to match that. And Hannah and I looked at each other. We were like, oh, that would be so funny. Like, that would be really cool, though. And so then he tips $20 on the receipt. So, like, that's just a really good story from recently, actually. Usually the bad things always happen to me at work, it feels like. I don't know what it is about me, but I always join the mean customers. And people have said this to me. I'm not being dramatic. People have said this to me at work. there's people that have worked there for like 2 years and they're like, I've never had a bad customer. I'm like, why would you say that to me? Because I've had all of them. Okay. I don't know what it is about me. I feel like I'm nice to them, but they just don't reciprocate. Maybe it is because they think they can take advantage of me. I don't know. But yeah, I guess maybe I'm too nice. But I don't know. It's confusing because I feel like my other coworkers are nice too, but maybe they're nice in a different way. Anyway, but yeah, that's the only really good story that I could really think of, which I feel bad about because I know there's probably been. Oh, there was actually, I just remembered this. There was one time where this guy, he was tipping on the credit card thing. And he was like, oh, I'm going to tip you. What's your name? And I was like, Taylor. Because I lost my name tag a long time ago. And I was like, oh, Taylor. And he was like, okay, Taylor. Thanks so much. And he wrote on the little receipt, like, $5 tip. And then he wrote, Taylor, you're the best. And I still have that in my room somewhere. Because I thought it was so nice. So shout out to that guy. I don't know his name, but that receipt is in my room because I thought that was super nice, and that never happens to me. But yeah, I've had people like come in and be like, "Oh, you're like super great service and stuff," and I'm like, "Thanks," but. And then anytime anyone compliments me at work on either my service or like, I don't know. I get compliments on my hair every once in a while because they think it's really cool. There was a while ago, like a month ago, where I, like, this is kind of maybe TMI, but I hadn't showered in like 3 days. Which, I wasn't like doing anything. I wasn't all sweaty and stuff, okay? I just was doing nothing for 3 days, so I felt like there was no point in showering. And I was like, I'm going to shower when I get home from work. So, my hair was just... I didn't think it was looking great. I thought it was looking like frizzy and weird. But I got like 3 compliments on it that day. So they were like, your hair is really cool. And I guess that just brought out the curls, the frizziness. But if you didn't notice, I have very curly hair and a lot of people think it's very interesting. So I've had a lot of like, also, my sister has hair similar to mine. Her hair is a different kind of curly. Like, we both have really curly hair, but hers is different. But a lot of people at work, customers, that, like, especially, like, mixed people will come in, and they're like, are you mixed? And she's like, no. Like, my parents even took one of those DNA tests. We're not, we're just white. We're not black at all. Like, no... any like percentage, like it was like 0.2. yeah it doesn't make any sense. Like we were like 0.2% African American, and we were thought that it would be a little more because of our hair, but I don't know where it comes from. So if anyone would like to let me know where my hair comes from. And all my siblings pretty much have curly hair, but my sister and I have kept it the longest. The boys you can't really tell as much because they have short hair, and my brother Brandon has like little tiny fro on the top of curls. It's really cute. But yeah, that is all the stories I could think of work stories. I don't know if I didn't think that would be that long actually, but I guess I took a while to tell those stories. A little too much detail. But I don't know, how much time are we at? Oh, 23. So I have a few more minutes. But I guess I'll talk about... by the way, if you need a job and you live in Lake Worth or Boynton or anywhere near that area, you can apply to Cold Stone Creamery. It's at coldstonecreamery.com. I don't know exactly how it works on there, but you can go to coldstonecreamery.com and there should be an application. And my dad needs employees. Because a lot of people are leaving. We honestly don't have that many employees right now. Everyone that we have is super awesome. I literally love all my coworkers so much. Like, they're so awesome. I can't even express that enough. They're so great. But it's hard when you work, like, every day, and then you can't really switch with anyone because everyone else works, like, every day. So everyone that we have working is super great, but it's, like... we're getting a lot of hours, which we like getting a lot of hours, but also when we need days off, we can't it's harder to get days off. We still get the days off, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's just easier to have like more backups and more like people to work. And also, a bunch of people are sadly leaving because they're graduating from high school and all that, because we mostly have high school employees, and we have a few college. If you're in college especially and you live near there, because we need openers in particular, but we also need closers. So anyone that's available to work, let me know, because we need employees. You could work with me. I mostly work at the Lake Worth location. I could train you. It would be a great time. We have, hopefully we're bringing back singing over the summer. I know it used to be a thing where you sing if you got a tip at Cold Stone, but we kind of stopped that because everyone would get embarrassed and stuff. And like, it is a little embarrassing, but it's like literally no one cares that, like, they're not going to remember you. So just sing to get $1, and then it'll add up really fast, because sometimes if you sing and then they're like, oh, what did you sing for? And you're like, I sang because I got tipped, and then they'll tip, and then it'll be a nice, yeah, exactly, domino effect. It'll be a chain of people tipping. So I'm hoping that we're bringing back singing over the summer. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Cold Stone has like their own songs that they make up. So like they'll basically take lyrics from actual songs and they put like Cold Stone lyrics in it. So it sounds stupid, and it is kind of stupid, but like it's fun and it makes it more interesting, and it keeps the people online entertained. And I don't think it should be that embarrassing, because really, who cares? And I know it's easier said than done, but yeah. So hopefully we're doing that over the summer. I'll let you guys know how that goes. And then I'm hoping to get lots of tips over the summer, because summer is always busy. Summer, everyone wants ice cream because it's hot and we live in Florida. But like an example of a song would be, the ABC song by the Jackson 5. So it's like, I can't even think of the actual lyrics because I sing the Cold Stone one. It's like ABC, easy as 1, 2, 3, and then they'll sing like do, re, mi. So it's that, but we just say tippin' me instead of ABC. So it's like tippin' me, easy as 1, 2, 3, and that's how it goes. So it's like stuff like that is the songs that we sing at Cold Stone, if you were wondering. But please don't let that stop you from applying if you're going to apply. You should. We could work together. Anyway, I think that's all I have for today. I actually do work today. And I work tomorrow, which is why I don't know how I'm going to do all my homework and stuff, but it's whatever. I'll figure that out later. But I'll see you guys next week, and thanks for tuning in and listening to my stories. So, bye-bye. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed talking to Taylor just as much as I did. Make sure you come back next week for a brand new show with me, Taylor. Follow me on social media at Talkin to Taylor on Instagram and Facebook. Also, find me on the Anchor app if you just feel like listening to my show. See you next time.